Hi guys, aseni natumai mko salama. Welcome back again to another episode of Growth Reads with Vikki. Now you might be wondering, what's this? So let me break it down to you for anybody who's new to my channel and to this video. So Growth Reads with Vikki is a cozy space where I read self-help books, and I come on here and I share with you guys everything that I am learning from these self-help books that are so significant and that have ended up impacting my life in a very, very big way, especially I think as a young person and also as an African person. And so if you're here and you're trying to improve your life and to grow in so many ways, I always believe that something from a book will always help you in a very, very big way. So karibuni sana. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you do not miss an episode. As always, asanteni sana for staying tuned and for joining us. Now, we've been tackling the book The Legend Theory by Mel Robbins. If you've read it, if you've heard of it, it's a very, very nice book, and it has helped my life in a very, very big way. We've already done 2 episodes from chapter 1 and chapter 2, and today we are focusing on chapter 3. Chapter 3 is called Shocker. Life is stressful, and that's what I want to talk about. See, one of the biggest ways you can use the legend theory is on the tiny little stressors that we have every day that may seem insignificant but end up affecting our lives in a very, very big way. And some of those stressors sometimes include slow internet connection, someone dragging themselves in a busy street, watu wa Nairobi mnajua. Someone could just be walking slowly on a busy street with many people, and you're like, come on, I need you to move out of the way so that I can move. Sometimes it can be you're trying to go for a meeting, you're in a hurry, yet someone is cutting you off in traffic. Sometimes you're visiting a government office and oh my god, there's this big queue and the people at the desk seem not to care, or in a hospital also, and people also just seem not to care. And so that's what we are focusing on today and looking into today. So I know what you're wondering. You're thinking that, but I never took those things so seriously. Are they really such a big deal? And yeah, the truth is that they are. And until I read this book, I didn't think that they were a very, very big deal in life. But they seem to be, and they seem to affect us in such a big way, yet we do not even notice it. And that's what I want to open our eyes to. And hopefully by the end of this episode, we know how to deal with them so that they don't end up affecting our lives in such a big way. Now, have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why do I have to let a long line in a coffee shop ruin my day, or in even in a government place, especially for us Kenyans who can relate? If you go to a government office, it can be really, really stressful, or if you go to the bank, it can just end up being a horrible day. But have you ever slowed down enough to ask yourself, I wonder why that ended up affecting my day as much as it did? Or if someone is walking slowly and it's in town and you're in a hurry, it also ends up like irritating you and annoying you in a very, very big way. And then by the time you get to where you're going, something else happens. You probably wait for someone to open the door, they end up taking too long to open the door, and so on and so forth, and then they end up becoming very, very big things. So why is traffic putting you in a bad mood? Why do you feel overwhelmed when someone interrupts you sometimes when you're trying to do an important task, or when someone is speaking loudly? Oh my god, especially for me, that has been like a very big stressor. Like sometimes if I'm in a matatu, when someone is speaking on the phone and they're yelling, I go like, come on, you gotta speak nicely, right? And I let it become a very, very big deal. And so what I learned about our brains is that our brains don't like stress. Our brains like to simplify things, and because our brains are already doing too much work. The brain is telling your organs to pump blood. Your brain is reminding you to eat. Your brain is reminding you so many things. So it doesn't like things that put it in fight and flight mode. And I want to get into that. Our brains have 2 very important parts. There's one part called the amygdala, and there's another part called the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is what enables us to go through life in a way that seems seemingly like it's just autopilot, autopilot. Sorry, there's a bird, yeah, and I'm not gonna let that stress me. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, oh, you shouldn't. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I could just decide to get mad that a bird has just flown and shouted when I'm trying to do this video, or I could just be like, yeah, it's okay, let the birds be, now they're gone and I can continue, right? You get what I'm saying? But anyway, like I was saying, our brains have two very important parts. That's the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. Let me break that down for you. The prefrontal cortex is what makes our lives seem as if we're going on something I like to call autopilot. The way now making tea for you has become something very easy, eating, going to bed, just normal things that help you function. Sometimes even if you drive along a path for a long time, it just becomes like you can almost drive it with your eyes closed. You drive through the place with your eyes closed, and that's the part that the prefrontal cortex plays. It helps us stay in control, right? And then we have the amygdala. The amygdala part of the brain is the brain that handles stress and things that our brains are unfamiliar with. You get what I'm saying? So what happens is that when you encounter a stressful situation, the prefrontal cortex shuts down, and the amygdala, it sends a signal to your brain, and the amygdala now starts to stay alert and awake, so that it's able to deal with that. So if someone cuts you off in traffic and you feel bad and you start cussing and you start getting annoyed, you shut down the prefrontal cortex part of your brain, and then the amygdala part takes over. And what happens is that if you encounter many stressful events throughout your day, like I've said, I could be wanting to go to town right now, right? Maybe I get a little bit late waking up, so I'm already stressed that, oh my god, I was 10 minutes late waking up, so I start preparing in a hurry. Have you ever asked yourself, what makes me want to prepare in such a hurry? That's your brain. You've already given it a signal that we're in a very stressful situation and we need to move very, very fast in order to get to things faster. So just imagine if you prepare in such a hurry, in a hurry, and then you maybe probably don't even have breakfast. Now you have to tell your brain, today we're even skipping breakfast. We need to go. Remember, it's used to doing things a certain way. Wake up a certain time, get dressed, eat, go. If you're using a matatu, if you're driving, it doesn't matter whichever one you're using. Now I'm going to use the example of a matatu. Maybe go to the bus stop, you have to get on a matatu and go. Remember, you're already late, you had to go in a hurry. You see what you're doing to your brain? You had to do it in a hurry, you had to skip breakfast, and now you're running. So say you go now and you wait, and the matatu doesn't come on time, so already mat imekuchelewesha, right? And then mat imekuchelewesha, eventually the matatu comes, you get into the matatu, already your brain is in that thing they call the fight and flight mode, right? And then you go, you meet you encounter traffic, especially when you're going to town. You guys, how it can get really, really crazy. Then there's that traffic, and then oh my god, I'm already late. And then your brain starts telling you you're probably gonna lose your job, you're already late. If you're meeting someone, the meeting is not going to go well because I'm already late. And trust me, I'm sharing this because that has happened to me personally. I personally am a very big timekeeper. I like knowing that I keep time. So sometimes if I had told someone we are meeting at 1 and it's minutes to 1 and I'm finding myself in like a weird place that I didn't even put myself in, like maybe I just got stuck in traffic, I can't stress over that. I could be clicking, sweating, my thumbs, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so late and this meeting is going to be so bad. My brain immediately enters the fight and flight mode, and so it shuts down the prefrontal cortex, which is what helps me grow and which helps me ease my way into things. You get what I'm saying? And so in our case, maybe you eventually you get to town, you alight from the mat, and then you have to probably go to the office or just wherever you're going, and then there's traffic of people along a street, and someone is walking slowly and you're in a hurry. You see what happens. And then by the time you get to where you're going, whether it's the office, whether it's the meeting, you're sweaty, you're tired, you're not even ready to ease yourself into the meeting. And so that is what happens to us, and that's why those things can seem very little and very insignificant, yet they are a very, very big deal to how we carry out our day. And so there's research from a lady called Dr. Aditi, who's a neurophysician, and she has written a book called Rewire Your Brain and Body for Less and More Resilience. So stress is a much bigger problem in your life than you think. Stress causes you to doubt yourself, to procrastinate, to burn out, to doom scroll, and all those things. And that is what will happen once you're already like maybe stressed. By the time you get into the matatu, you can't even ease yourself enough to think through maybe the way the meeting is going to be. Maybe your brain will tell you know what, just take your phone and scroll until you get there. And so you also end up running away from those emotions. But what Mel emphasizes is that when you start to recognize that those things can become very big stressors, you start to learn how to deal with them, right? So for example, say in this case you wake up 10 minutes late. It's okay. First of all, say it's okay, I woke up 10 minutes late. Tomorrow I'll do better. Maybe I won't hit the snooze button, and I will get out of bed when the alarm rings. That eases your brain to tell it that I know this seems like a stressful situation, but don't get into fight and flight mode. It's okay. When you tell it it's okay, when you say okay, let them. Najwa. When maybe someone is walking slowly and maybe you say, please excuse me, can I pass? And you pass, or you just let them. You say, you know what, just let them go, right? You immediately send a signal to your brain telling it it's not as bad as it thinks. But when you don't do that, your brain will understand that it's as bad as you think. It's really, really bad. You're going to be late and it's going to be so, so bad. And you end up consuming a lot of stress. So like for me, in my case, by the time I get to the meeting, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I'm sweaty. You think I'm going to do the meeting well? No, I'm not going to do the meeting well. And it has happened to me so, so many times. And so what I've learned is that when the small things come, like for example, if there's traffic, there's nothing I can do about traffic. Let it go. Just say like, yeah, there's traffic. Maybe the simplest thing that I can do is pick my phone, text the person that I was meeting, or give them a call and say, hey, I'm so sorry, I am stuck in traffic. I didn't anticipate this. Can you probably give me 30 more minutes or 20 more minutes? That's the decent thing that you can do. And this is where the let them theory comes into play. The minute you say let them cut me off in traffic, let there be traffic because there's nothing I can do about that, you ease your brain into remembering that now it's in control. And when your prefrontal cortex takes over, now it's able to tell you, you know what, there's something that you can do. And that's where you focus on now, what can I do about it? What I can do about it is that I can give the person I was meeting a call, apologize, and reassure them that I'm going to be there in X amount of time, according to how much you estimate. And so when you do that, you start walking in peace, and your peace is worth protecting. And when you do that, also now you're able to think about probably if it's the meeting or the rest of your day and how you want to carry it through without necessarily carrying the very big stressors, right? When you're late, it's okay. Maybe tell your brain, I know we are late, so we'll probably not sit down and have breakfast, but you know what we can do? We can hit breakfast and pack it, and we can go eat it when you get to the office, or we can eat it along the way. Simple, clear. But you see, when you panic and get into that panic mode and your amygdala takes over, you end up affecting the rest of your day. And that's where I want to emphasize that please remember that those small things that can seem very, very insignificant are a very big deal and can end up affecting the rest of your day. So whether they are the small stresses of someone in traffic, someone walking slowly, someone at the teller taking longer than they're supposed to, sometimes you can always walk into someone, even the manager's office, and say, hey, I've been here for more than an hour. Is there anything you can do to help the traffic move faster? That there already is you taking action and easing your brain to know that it doesn't have to stay in fight and flight mode because anytime it catches something that is stressful and you dwell on it, it stays in fight and flight mode. So if you're there and you've been dealing wrongly with the tiny stressors we get every day in our lives, some of them that I've mentioned or even bigger, you do not have to lose yourself in them, and you can always select them. And then when your prefrontal cortex takes over, you can always ask yourself, what can I do about this? Anyway, that's it from today. Do let me know everything that you've learned or something important that you've learned from this video in the comments below. Or if you know someone who gets affected a lot by small stresses in their lives, you can share this video with them. And I will see you next week for another episode. Bye for now.